Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426 and today we have the review of the 52 Toys Beastbox Onitopte. Now 52 Toys is the company name, Beastbox is the brand name, and Onitopte is this unit's name. So as you can see on the image, or if you can tell, this thing is basically the concept of a helicopter and a dragonfly, which is kind of cool when you think about it as well. For those who don't know what this is, basically 52 Toys is a Chinese company that makes their own original design figures, and sometimes model kits as well. So, and one of their most famous lines is the Beastbox line. So what are Beastbox? Basically these are creatures, so these could be insects, dinosaurs, other animals, or fantasy beasts like a unicorn or a dragon that can transform into these 5 centimeter perfect cubes. Granted, there are some exceptions, like the recent the Beastbox Huracan, which is a much larger thing. But normally when the name Beastbox is mentioned, it usually refers to the ones that can transform into 5 centimeter cubes. And then as you can see here, you can store them up in these box chargers, which do come with the product, and then you can either connect them to the side or stack them up and make a whole entire wall of these as well. So I absolutely love these concepts, which is why I'm collecting them. So Onitopte, I'm not sure what's the exact pronunciation. Now apparently most of these names are usually, firstly named in Chinese and then they get translated multiple times to make, and then on the process, most of the English names, some of them really sound cool, but at the same time there are also the ones that don't really make sense. But you get my point. So I think this is more like a translation, transition thing. So yeah. So actually, when the Beastbox started, a lot of people were actually hoping for a Dragonfly version to come out, and it finally came out. Alright, so here is the box. Here we have the box. The products are already outside, so that's in the back. Here's the cube form. Here's the Dragonfly form. Now you can either have the typical wings, or you can have like a helicopter form-ish thing going on here as well. And then I believe usually on the box they mention like the design team, so they have multiple teams here. So this is from X2R. This is actually one of their original teams as well, so they have been doing an excellent job. I respect them. So yeah, and I believe there are some rumors where according to rumors is that 52 Toys actually are using some people from Hasbro from their Transformers division. So some people or designers from that division went to this company and is now helping out. So that's kind of cool. Alright, now here we have the box form. I'm not going to show you guys the process because number one, it's going to take a long time. Number two, this thing is actually one of the longest forms I have ever seen. From the Dragonfly to box to Dragonfly, or Dragonfly to box, it takes 41 steps. Most of the Beastbox average takes about less than 30 steps. So this one definitely has a lot of complications, slightly over-engineered, but there's a good reason for it. And number two, there is one slight issue I have been seeing on the social media page where people bought this and there were one minor issue. It also happened to me, so I'll get into that later. But before that, let's go over components. So obviously you get this, the box charger, and the Dragonfly itself. Now inside the box, it's going to be in its Dragonfly form, so you're going to have to transform that later. And the tricky part with Beastbox is that when you open it from the box, there are sometimes like in their mid-transformation, so it does become a little bit troublesome to figuring out where you have to start from. So yeah, and then we get one of my favorites, the cards here. So we have a very nice illustration here, BB62, and then actually let me give me a moment, just want to check. Okay, that matches. And here we have the back stats here. So if you want to read the card, you can pause and read, and by looking at the stats or specs, definitely has low defense, but overall the rest seems pretty average and pretty good as well, especially for intelligence and speed as well. So that's that. And then we get the typical stuff with like for example, you get the instruction manual. The manual does cover up all the transformation processes, and then we get all sorts of catalogs. One thing they also decided to do is finally get rid of these PVC cards. This one is not included, but I brought out from a different box. So what these are supposed to be used for is to fold them in half, put in behind the Beastbox, so it will be inside the charger, and when you open it up, it would push out the product. But not many people actually use these, and I personally tried to use one of these before, and they didn't really work that well, depending on the product itself. So I think they finally decided to get rid of that as well. So that's a very good thing. And mine also comes with a bonus. So depending on the Beastbox, sometimes they'll make these extra parts as a bonus for pre-order. Now I didn't exactly pre-order mine. I got this later after pre-order. So but apparently they had the guy who I bought it from was actually had a spare of these, so they also gave me one of these as well. So these are not exactly purchasable. If you want to, you're gonna have to like dig into AliExpress or eBay to get this separately. But these things are just, as you can tell, are bonus parts. Does not affect the transformation here. So these are just basically extra weapons that will make it look cool. Now there are ones that are definitely worth it, such as like the action base, which I did not get, which I'm slightly regretting. But yeah, so these are just a bonus thing, but I will be showing them later as well. So alright, we've seen the basics on how these products work, so I'll be right back with the Dragonfly mode. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the Dragonfly mode, and once again it is looking absolutely pretty good. So once again, the transformation process is not exactly easy. I don't think I'll ever memorize the whole process, so I'm definitely gonna have to keep the instruction manual for the transformation here. Now I would like to mention here the transformation, or on the manual, actually mentions not only the Dragonfly mode, but it also mentions the process to how to make the Dragonfly mode into the helicopter mode. Yes, there is actually a helicopter mode, which I will show later. So here we have the Dragonfly mode. It actually looks pretty convincing, although some might say is what's going on with the wings here. I think the wings being in an angle, I think that's just because of the helicopter mode exists on this. If they didn't really have that, maybe they could have done better, but who knows. So, but once again, I absolutely love the way how this looks here. So currently this is just the one with the Dragonfly mode. Now here we have the bonus parts, which I'll get into later. So here we have the Dragonfly mode. So because this is like a flying insect slash helicopter thing, there's not much to show in terms of articulation. While there are some moving parts on the legs here, they don't really, how should I say, they're not like a huge thing onto the mode itself as well. So let's start from the front, I guess. So here we have the head here. Absolutely love the fact that they have a purple clear piece of plastic, and inside there is actually like a mechanical eye detail, or I think like, you know, optics details for a Dragonfly. So that's a pretty cool thing they did there. And here we actually have some really cool looking weapons. Back then, when it comes to a Beastbox, whenever they make like a weapon, a built-in weapon that's not a clear piece, they usually tend to make it simple, like a folding cannon, like a very simple looking cannon. They actually did some extra well done detailing here as well. So we have these wings here, although the wings seemed a little bit unnecessary, but still pretty cool looking design. We have, this looks like a turret gun. We have all these details, silver painting, and then even the scope going on here as well, or the camera. So it plugs in here right away, so no big deal. And here we have the front legs, which are basically like the landing gear. So the only tricky part is that since there are some moving parts here, like for example, the parts that actually touches the ground, these two parts that look like feet, those are actually connected as ball joints, so to make sure they are on the right angle. And we have this piece right over here, which doesn't actually do anything. This is just like extra pieces. These are like adapters, so they can connect other parts, but it does mention that to slap those on, because those were technically part of the gun here. But also when you're transforming this into the cube form, they are actually used in the transformation, so don't get rid of these as well. So so yeah, and then these parts do move, but very limited, because this is only for the transformation here. And being a Dragonfly, these things don't really walk around, they fly around, so I can definitely tell they didn't want to give too much, you know, engineering on the legs or slash feet, or that would have made this even more a little bit messy. Because even right now, while it does look good, the more I touch this, transform this, play around with it, definitely feels a little bit over engineered, a little bit. So that's just me. So that's that. So there are like small movements here, but once again, they're mostly limited for the transformation, or not exactly meant for like being like articulated as well. So we have the back legs here. Now here is the issue where a lot of people were suffering, and which also happened to me here. So these legs here, so these legs are technically connected as ball joints, but you can see it is extremely stiff. Not exactly extremely, but you can see it, you can hear the plastic like squeaking as well every time I move it. So this means it's not exactly a it's a little bit of a tight fit, but this one, at least, it's not to the point where it's going to break accidentally, but I am going to sand the ball joint a little bit down so that I have a little bit more freedom. Now this one, it's not moving as easy as this one, so I do need to give it a little bit strength. So once again, that's that. Now the back legs, a lot of people, even people who got their pre-orders, are mentioning that they all had later cracks here, in which for me, the moment I moved the back leg just to transform this, it sounded off a loud crack noise, and now I have a crack here. So let me see if I can do that there. Okay, see, you can see the joint here is now cracked here. Now it's not to the point where it's just fall offs on the own. It still hangs in there, so I'm not really worried about it, but I might need to fix that a little bit later. Maybe add a little bit of glue there, or maybe you know, basically do something on it for the long run. But once again, yeah, this was definitely odd. So to make sure that doesn't happen, I was able to disconnect this side of the ball joint and sand down the ball joint a little bit. So at least this section does not, the other side didn't give me a crack yet. So yeah, I might need to sand this a little bit more down to make sure for the future as well. So that is the only part a lot of people were having a little bit issues here. Other than that, this could be a minor issue to some people or a major issue to some people, so just be aware of that. And then once again, the back legs also move, but once again, these are practically landing gears, so make sure you all have everything lined up and flattened up, so that when you have this on the ground, you don't have that awkward like stance or angle here, which I am at the moment struggling as well. So that's that. Now for the tail, there's not much movement here because everything is pretty much locked into place, but for the transformation here, you do, for the helicopter or Beastbox or the box mode, there are some parts that does move around here, so do be aware. And especially be careful with these purple clear plastics. So these are supposed to like open up upwards and move around, but one of these sides are very stiffer than the other, and I fear that sometime in the future, when I'm trying to transform this and move this, I'm accidentally, or this thing is just gonna snap off as well, because being clear plastic, which means it's going to be a little bit weaker than a typical plastic piece. So do be careful on these parts as well. And now looking at the back here, we have all these wings. So the wings, you can kind of reposition them if you want to do so. They all rotate a 360 as long as they're attached properly, and then you can change their positions a little bit by moving up and down as well. And then if you want to have that flapping action, you can all flap around the wings if you want to do so here. Now keep in mind though, the back wings can fold inwards. These ones do not fold. They have a peg on the end, so you can rotate so that you can fold them in for the transformation or whatever you need to do so. So that's that. So yeah, pretty cool purple wings, very well done here. So there's nothing else to mention. They have, once again, being Beastbox, they also have some customization value by having all sorts of like 5mm or 3mm ports here and there. So do be aware where those are. And finally, I just want to mention, even though like if you have an action base that was made by 5-2 Toys, apparently there's no port, there's no hole to connect anything. So getting this on an action base might be tricky unless you like make some, I don't know, maybe you 3D print your own adapter or something like that. So that is definitely something I found a little bit odd. And before I go into helicopter mode, let's talk about those bonus parts. Now here are the bonus parts, and they look pretty cool. So the way how these works is that these were both folded in half and then slapped on together to make it look like a giant brick. But what you can do is fold them. You can open them up and then extend the barrel here, and now you have like a very cool looking well, I'm not sure if this would be a triple or 4-barrel machine gun, but once again, very cool looking. And then once again, we have like beware of hot air, like you know, warnings here as well. And then we have all these ports. Now according to the manual, I believe the big hole is a 5mm, and then there is another one here at the end tip, which is hidden by this peg. You can actually take this out and it reveals a 3mm peg, so peg hole to be more specific. So yeah, you can definitely utilize this piece if you want to do so. And yeah, and the way how you're supposed to use this, I believe based on the promo pictures I've seen, they basically slap these onto those adapters I just mentioned here. So something like this. Now although These things were much bigger than I've imagined, so they may seem a little bit awkward, but since these parts, you can kind of readjust them. Maybe you can slap those adapters onto the back leg and make it look more balanced, but this is pretty cool. Imagine this being a attack helicopter, and you have these giant barrel machine guns raining on you, so that would be extremely cool. Alright, so we've seen the basics here, so I think I'll be right back with the helicopter form, and we'll end it off there. Okay, I'm back. So here we have the helicopter mode. So nothing has changed too much, other than that you kind of, mash up the legs together to make a big giant leg, and then you fold the back legs, and then you fold them again to make another back leg again. So yeah, so there's not much change other than like the positions of the feet here going on here, and then you have to actually like unlock this part and then push the tail a little bit back in to make the tail, the entire length of the leg, the tail become a little bit shorter, and then other than that, you pull up these fragile plastic pieces here, so do be careful, and then opening up the propellers here. So that's pretty much it. So on the process, you do need to turn 2 wings in 180 degrees so that it matches up on the other side as well, and then from there you can just spin this if you want to do so. So personally, yeah, this is the helicopter mode, and then you actually need to use the adapters to make the guns go a little bit more backward onto the back side rather than from the front side. So not sure why this was necessary, but definitely an interesting design choice. But once again, everything works pretty well. And then, yeah, if you do want to have a much more of a typical helicopter style design, this is the mode that you want to go for. But if you don't mind the Dragonfly mode, then yeah, it's really up to your preference. And this part does spin very well. There's no motor gimmick, there's no like press a button so that it moves faster. It's just, you manually spin it on your own. So yeah. And that is pretty much it for the review. So this was the review of the 5-2 Toys Beastbox, the latest, not the latest, but the Dragonfly design, which was called Onitopte. Once again, not sure what's the exact pronunciation here, so anybody who knows, do let me know. And yeah, because I feel like this is like a mash of words and then translated to English, so which is why it sounds very awkward. Anyway, if you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time.